Hey, what is up guys? Ghenar here, welcome back to another Brown Dust video. Alright, so we have the Halloween event, Resurrection of Jack O'Lantern. So this is a very unique event. You have to, basically based on what I'm reading here, you must cast, check in and collect button to claim rewards. Alright, so you need to do 3 things. So I've already spammed the check in, so I just need to like cast a spell later. And then I need to collect that first. On the right you can see the requirements for you to collect is basically you have to use 20 normal scrolls. I've only used 10 today, so I'm gonna do that later. So make sure to collect all of those. The rewards are quite good. Apparently you get diamonds, horseshoes, gold, 3-star rank up stars, you know, red slime queens and things like that. And of course, if you do it 50 times consecutively, you'll be getting the Halloween costume Livia. 30 times will give you that. That's a 5-star skill transfer if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so make sure to do the following to get Livia's costume. So as of now, they did not mention like how do you obtain Larkis costume. Like if you head over to the costume shop right here, so Spider Witch Livia, Frankenstein Larkis, it says gift from Larkis event reward. So not sure what that's all about. Maybe it will come after the Halloween event ends, I hope. Alright, so let's do a quick analysis of the 2 new mercenaries that are introduced in the 17th of October event. First up, we have Larkis. Alright, so Larkis and Shiela is the companion. So this is how Larkis looks like. Shiela is the little girl right here. Alright, so this is Larkis' companion. Very cool. I like her art work a lot. Very unique concept. She's the lolly bread eating girl or something. But let's have a look at their skills. We're gonna dive in deep, since a bunch of you guys have been asking me if he or both of them are going to be worth building or not. Alright, so if you look at the preview, let's just look at the stats first. Alright, straight up compare the stats. Look at the attack, 1.9k attack, pretty decent, but this is like his best stats compared to everything else. HP 2.8k. Alright, so defense 0%, crit rate 0%, crit damage 0%, and agi 0%. So I do strongly believe that if you want to use Larkis in the battle, and you plan to use him solely from, you know, benefiting from his skills, go for 2 assault runes. That seems to be the most safe, because 0% crit rate and 0% crit damage, you won't be doing much by, you know, doing the crit. So ideally I wouldn't recommend going that route. Fatal Rage, just a no-go. Go for assault runes if you really want to build him. Alright, so here's what he has in his skills, right? So it says deals great counter damage to the enemy who attacks. Okay, looking at the first glance, his skill doesn't seem that impressive. Alright, so applies curse to the enemy who attacks. Basically before he gets hit, he will apply reduce their stats, assuming that the enemy has no stats reduction immunity, which is kind of rare, or debuff immunity. Alright, so Dalvi is not going to get affected at all by this skill because she has debuff immunity. Wilhelmina, same goes for her. Who else? A lot of mercenary units nowadays, if you use Stella, you know, in your team, you're going to have that stats weakening immunity Ceres as well. So you don't have to worry about getting cursed at all. So this skill might not be that good anymore in the arena right now, especially in the meta right now. Alright, but let's move on to the next one. So this is the main skill, Larkis' main skill. This is what makes him so great, right? Notice there's a subsection right here for the Death Guard. So permanent demon counter. Counter attacks with additional damage to the enemy who attacks. So basically he will deal slightly higher damage, deal additional damage to the enemy who attacks, and receives additional damage upon enemy's normal attack. So that is something to keep in mind. Alright, so he will deal additional damage, and he will actually receive additional damage upon enemy's normal attack, which is quite a lot. Max HP times 95%, that's quite a lot. Alright, so that means that Larkis is gonna die to almost any single hit, but it's a gamble, right? That's where the second skill comes in, Death Guard. Alright, so if you read closely right here, applies a hit of additional damage received from demon counter. Alright, so Death Guard will apply before the additional damage received right here, which is the max HP times 95% additional damage. So that only will occur. Alright, so that only will occur. The Death Guard only will basically activate if the enemy dies during the additional damage duration time, right? So basically it's listed right there. Does not receive any damage if the enemy dies during the additional damage duration time. Death Guard disappears after receiving enemy's normal attack for a certain number of times. 100 times Death Guard. So that means Larkis, if the enemy does die, let's say Nia or whatever, hits Larkis and gets countered, and Nia does die, so Larkis will have the Death Guard activated for 1 turn. Alright, so effectively 100 times. That means that if they have multi-hit and they hit him more than a dozen times, Larkis is still gonna survive. So that is cool. That is a very interesting concept. And overall, I would say that's just about it. That's like his main core kit. Alright, so he has Ultimate Strike, which is very interesting. So this will deal bonus damage when he hits the opponent normally. And of course there's this permanent DOT immunity, which is like I much prefer stats weakening immunity, but DOT immunity, I guess it's cool. So this means that Larkis can easily get countered by another Larkis, like if you think about it, because Larkis himself has this ability to basically reduce enemies' stats, you know, and then he himself is not immune to stats weakening immunity. He's only immune to DOT. Alright, DOT is not really strong in the meta right now, although we do have the few recent collab units that are able to do some pretty decent amount of DOT damage. Okay, so moving on to the +1. So obviously the curse increase 30%, 50%, and so forth. So this one, damage increase. So this time it boosts Larkis' attack as well. So he's definitely gonna have that insane amount of attack. And then go away, deals additional damage to the enemy. And if the opponent dies, he will heal. Alright, so this is at +6. That's very common. We have seen that in a lot of other skills. Nothing new right there. 150%, 200%, boost attack. Alright, cool. Alright, nullify as well. So this one might be a much bigger deal. So once you get him to +9, having the enhancement nullifier, this is gonna make him much more of a bigger deal than before. Because before this is just curse. If you have stats weakening, it's not going to affect you much. But now you have the ability to nullify enemies with buffs, right? So of course, in the meta right now, in the higher tier meta at least, everyone and their mom has Stella and Michaela. Alright, so even I myself, I'm using Stella and Venaka. All irremovable buffs. So you can't really remove those buffs. Alright, and these buffs only count towards enhancement type, stats enhancement type. So if it's something like a bestowal, something like Serendia's first skill, it's not going to get removed. So that is something to keep in mind. Based on the meta we are heading right now, this is not going to make a big impact in the higher tier arena. Of course, if we're talking about like the lower tier, silver to gold league, having Larkis might actually help you climb. It might actually do. Alright, +10 going forward. Okay, 150% attack boost, that is a lot. 200%. Ho ho. Alright, so this time he gets more attack boost if the enemy dies. And then boom, more attack boost if the enemy dies as well. And then +14, 250% attack. And at +15, wow, attack time 275% additional damage. Cool. Cool. Alright, so overall, I think his concept is really unique, but do keep in mind that Larkis will only get the Death Guard, and he will only not die if the enemy dies during the counter, right? So it's sort of a gamble. I'm not sure in the meta right now if every single warrior will actually die to Larkis. And most of the time, yes they will, but If it's something like a defender that hits Larkis, for example, let's say a Cecilia or a strong Cowley, I don't think Larkis is gonna be able to counter them to death. Like, unless he receives a ton of buffs, right? He has to receive a ton of buffs. I do think that in the right team composition, he's gonna work pretty well. The only thing that lacks, possibly, from someone with reflective counter is a taunt, right? Ideally, you want to distract the attacks away towards him. That's the main point of using Larkis, but if you just position him on the map like that, you know, he's not going to be able to benefit from much. He's a front hitter, most likely he's gonna either hit Lucius or Cowley. Those two are most commonly placed front, or maybe Larkis if Walia, if they have taunt. Will he be able to one-shot them? I have no idea. Most likely not. Most likely not. Do keep in mind that based on his current stats, it's best to build him with only attack-based assault runes. So I don't think that his damage output with his normal hit is that high. 100%, like, he's really gonna struggle trying to kill a Walia even. Like, even Nia with 2 rage runes, right, and has 100% crit rate, struggles to kill Walia at times, right? And that has high multiplier in terms of the calculation, because when you crit and then you have 2 rage runes, the crit damage percentage is insanely high. And even she sometimes struggles to kill a Walia. So I can see Larkis really struggling in the meta right now. Overall, he's a decent unit, but like I mentioned earlier, he's going to need a little bit of setup if you want to use him. So if you're a beginner, you're a new player, I think you're better off skipping this guy. Unless you have like a very good John +10 or an Endolin laying around, you want to like run some setups with him in the Guild Wars, that might work. That might actually work. He's gonna be a decent trap counter. Like just like how Jin to John, John to Jin, or Endolin to Jin used to be. And Larkis seems like a better candidate for that. Alright, so moving on to the next unit, we have Bellasier right here. Alright, what is Bellasier all about? So similar with Larkis, despite Larkis having like amazing stats in attack and HP and 0% everything else, Bellasier probably has one of the worst attacks I've ever seen on any unit. 4 star. Alright, so 328 attack, 0% defense and 0% agi. I don't like that at all, considering that she is a defender. Alright, so let's have a look at her skills to basically judge further. Alright, so what does Bellasier has, right? So she has this stigma in which she has this in the form of reflective counter and attacking the enemy. So when she reflects, if opponent hits her, they will get stigmatized. Alright, so familiar spirit stigma will apply to them, and if they die, alright, she will basically heal HP and her defense will increase. From what I'm seeing right now, 2% and 5% each, which is extremely little. It's not going to make that much of an impact, considering, you know, we have a lot of strong units right now in the Novice as well. Alright, so same goes for the second skill. So this one is when she attacks, she will apply spirit stigma to them. Alright, so going on all the way to the awakening skill. So this might make her much more of a survivable unit, right? So she has this reflective counter. We have seen this skill a lot of times on plenty of meta units like Larkis in the arena, Edwin, but I think we don't really see this often in Novice. So she's like the first like decently strong unit in the Novice to receive this. Stats weakening, minus 20%. Obviously that will increase later on. Alright, so let's just have a look at her skills at +6. So she receives taunt, 12 turns of taunt. Very cool, very cool. Taunt for 12 turns, applies curse. Alright, so reduce all stats except HP. That is cool as well. And then we have max HP, 50% additional damage. Alright, this time is cool. So if the enemy with stigma applies, hit her or gets hit by her, they will receive that amount of max HP times percentage of additional damage, which is a lot. That is a lot, given that she doesn't die during the battle, right? Alright, so this time 10% healing, still 5% defense. Okay, so moving on all the way to +9, +10, we have -40% incoming damage. That is quite a lot. Decent amount of incoming damage reduction right there. Obviously, whoa, 11. Alright, so stats -60%, all the way at +14 and +15. This is what I'm talking about. You ideally want this skill. Enhancement Nullifier. Alright, so this skill might not be as prominent in the Novice anymore because of Serendia, where she's seen everywhere, and her first skill is literally a Bestowal skill. I've done a video covering that before. I'm going to link it in the top right corner and in the description as well. Alright, so Enhancement Nullifier, do keep that in mind. But it's still a decently good skill, right? Because it nullifies and punishes team heavily who relies on Arenes and Hyunwol. If you have Arenes, you have Hyunwol, I believe those are stats enhancement and they're gonna get nullified when you try to hit her. And get cursed, 60% stats reduction. That is a lot, man. That is a lot. Okay, so going forward, all the way. So now she deals 150% enemies max HP. Alright, cool. And resets the buffs when they die. And of course, heals herself by 10% for 8 turns. And defense increased by 15%. Alright, same goes for this skill as well. So when she hits, 15% defense. So I'm guessing, here's the thing, if you go for 2 shield runes, ideally, 25%, alright, 25%, 25%, 50%. Going for 2 shield runes, so that means you need at least 3 to 4 enemies to die to be able to benefit from the 100% defense. That does not seem very likely unless you have a perfect setup. The problem is, in the Novice arena right now, Cry is almost everywhere, and I do think that Cry can pillage her buffs, you know, having taunt and having all of this stigma and things like that. With healing, you know, you have this healing, you have this defense boost, you know, you give that to Cry, Cry is gonna be even stronger than before. 100% defense Cry, which cannot even die. So the only thing that she has against Cry right now is probably this curse. So if Cry, which is most likely not immune to stats weakening, hits her, so at least that Cry will get cursed. But still, she will have all her buffs pillaged. And you know, we have Xion as well, which is good against taunters. Lito most likely will one-shot her. So she's gonna require a little bit of setup to work perfectly, but I do think that she can work. I don't think people are going to start building her right now though. I would expect like maybe 2 to 3 weeks from now, maybe you'll start seeing her more in the Novice arena. The problem with this skill right here, right? Like, this is probably her biggest flaw. She will only get this reflective counter after normal attack. So that means you can't really use her as a normal defender, because usually for defenders, you want them to move last. You want your warriors to move first, so that you can burst the opponent's warriors or burst down as many of the enemies as you can. Like if you have Richnet, Britain, Vila, etc. But having this skill, this is like probably her limitation to the setup right now, because she needs to move first to benefit from this skill. If she doesn't, she might get one-shotted by Lito or Britain. Richnet might even one-shot her easily, because she won't have this curse and stats enhancement yet activated. So once she moves, she will have this activated for 12 turns. That's where she shines. Yeah, when you are defending, let's say, if you set up her in a position where you are fighting a Richnet, right? She's gonna get stunned instantly and she won't be able to attack at all, and she won't ever activate the stats weakening and enhancement nullifier. So that's the thing, right? So you gotta like be wary of where you place her. Like, I do think that, you know, for most tanks, you don't really have to worry about their positioning as much, but for her, you need to, unfortunately. And if you move last, you won't get the full effect of her skills. That's what I think. So therefore, I don't think that we will see much of her use in the Novice arena. But yeah, feel free to prove me wrong. If you guys think that she's strong, go ahead, use her. I would love to see how she performs. Alright guys, that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you do, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and let me know what you guys think of Larkis and Bellasier. in the comments below. As always, have a nice day. Goodbye.